Burn, baby, burn. We got hot sauces and banking on the snack down.
Oh boy. You sure there's not milk in here somewhere?
No. But he immediately has, you can tell. I put a small dab. But it's warm. Welcome to the Structural Snack Down, the podcast where we build your knowledge of steel construction and break down the best snacks one bite and beam at a time. I'm your host, Zach Bauer, and on each episode, we'll be diving into the world of Rayco builders, exploring the ins and outs of commercial and industrial construction, all the while taste some of the best snacks and ranking them our favorite. Today's episode, we have Kelly Oberbroekling. Kelly is a dedicated and experienced commercial lender at Reliabank. His expertise in commercial lending allows him to guide clients through complexities of securing capital for expansion, equipment, real estate, and all the other crucial business needs. Kelly, thanks for joining me.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Well, I'm excited. We are on the snack down, and the snack down is simply going through a different kind of snack and ranking them. And so today's snack is a little different because it's hot sauces.
It's great.
Do you enjoy hot sauces?
I do, Zach. There gets to be a point where I have to cut it off. But
well, these are going to test our limits all the way from 1 flame to 5 flames. So we're going to see. Each question is going to have a snack attached to it, and then we'll kind of discuss and work our way through it. And at the very end, we'll do a little ranking of kind of what the best sauce is, or you probably could start with the worst, hottest sauce if we want. So, well, the first one we have here is jalapeno, and this is going to be our first one. I felt like this is a good, easy step in here. And so I have a bowl of chips here that we can dab and then snack on it here. And as you're getting your chip here in a second, why don't you start with our first question here? Just tell us a little bit about who you are and how you got into banking.
Kelly Oberbroekling. I'm with Reliabank, and I started with the bank. It was just about 5 years and a month. Started out with a small bank in Sioux Falls. Prior to that, I had done some entrepreneurial things in agronomy and doing some stuff with bookkeeping and things like that. And just kind of got tired of the rigmarole of dealing with employees and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And Reliabank gave me a shot. And so, ever since I've predominantly been doing real estate. Definitely get into the construction world. So
what do you enjoy about banking as you can dab here? I know you're trying to get out of a hot sauce here, but it's not a good sign because we're on the first one. So what do you enjoy about banking?
I truly love to work with the people.
Mm-hmm.
Every job's got its tough things, and collecting when somebody doesn't want to pay isn't all that much fun. But, for the most part, I love dealing with people. I still have this strong entrepreneurial spirit. Mm-hmm. So it's really fun when we get to work with somebody that's starting a business.
Oh, yeah.
Wants to get rolling, whether it's in real estate, whether it's construction, whatever those businesses are. And we're still a community bank. So we work with people that, need a $40,000 line of credit to a $5 million line of credit.
Wow. Yeah.
So it's a little everything. Here we go.
Yeah. There's something about, I think, I used to work in an agency where we worked mostly with startups, small businesses, and there is an exciting part of getting an entrepreneurial, someone who's starting a business. There's that passion. There's probably some of that ignorance of not knowing what's down the road, but
yes,
there is an exciting part of hearing their vision, their passion, their excitement, and some of it you got to get on board with. But you also kind of have to bring some reality to it. And as an entrepreneurial as well, my heart is, I can get excited about anything almost. And so it's good to get excited about certain elements to it. Reliabank is calling right now because he said the first wrong answer, but you're good. This is the snack down.
That's truly the exciting part. Getting the opportunity to, just show, I guess, when they come in and they're
Mm-hmm.
looking for somebody that can help them grow, help them start. It's always a lot of fun to be able to say, well, hey, this is what I did 20 years ago, or this is how we dealt with our banker. And yeah, so I think we get a unique opportunity in that we do get to deal with small communities, small entrepreneurs, and then the folks that have been in business for 25, 30, and 50 years.
And I think a lot of people don't realize that, banking is, a relationship. It's you're with them through the highs, the lows, you take that journey with them. And sometimes I think you think of banking, a lot of people probably just think, oh, it's a transaction. They do this, do that. But there's more to that. There really is a relationship where you walk with them through those seasons.
Yeah.
And you almost get to celebrate some of the early days of the struggle of hitting payroll and how do we get that to seeing them grow and succeed is a unique part of banking that I don't think a lot of people understand.
Right. And the other part of that, Zach, is you hear of people in leads clubs, and the point behind leads clubs is obviously giving leads to businesses. So once we get clients, and I feel like we do a really good job of just promoting their business, and what's cool is how much they appreciate. It may be one customer that you forward them, or it might be 20.
Yeah.
But everyone counts to a small business. And that's the exciting part.
That's cool.
For us.
That's really cool. Well, that first one was pretty good, pretty mild, right?
It's very mild. I love that.
So the second one here is our second question, second snack is actually going to be a mango habanero. And we're going to jump up here a little bit and give you some, background on some habaneros. They're actually known, I didn't know this, but they're known for kind of their distinct fruity, citrusy flavor.
Okay.
I can't say I've eaten a lot of habaneros that I can pull those notes, but they say typically they're known for their sweeter. That's why this sauce is actually paired with a mango. And habanero, I don't know if you know this, but hot sauces and peppers they have their own ranking scale, their heat index.
Correct.
And so it's called the Scoville unit. The mango habanero is going to start us right about that 100,000 Scoville units.
Okay.
So the one we had before was jalapeno, which typically is in that 2,500. So we are taking a significant jump here with the habanero. And so,
full disclosure, it's my favorite flavor at B-Dub. So
habanero or mango?
Mango habanero.
Okay. So you'll be right at home here. As you dive into this one, next question I want to talk a little bit about is, can you kind of explain your role as a commercial banker and how you specifically, I know you hit it a little bit here in the first question, how you specifically work with clients in business growth and in the construction area?
Yeah. So most of us are commercial / ag bankers.
Mm-hmm.
So we do a little bit of everything. And not only that, we do a lot of consumer. I wouldn't say a lot, but we do get into the consumer world, HELOCs, things like that, which people use their HELOCs to do small remodel jobs, help. They use them as a line of credit for their businesses, for that matter. But predominantly, like I've said, I delve more into the real estate world, which would be rental real estate, commercial real estate, some manufacturing. And then the other part of that is construction. And that's a big part of, I would say, any bank for that matter, whether you're small town, trying to take care of mom and pop building their first new home, or the farmers building buildings, which, RACO does a lot of. So from our standpoint, it's really no different than the entrepreneur that comes into the front door. For us, like for instance, one of my manufacturing group that I work with we did a really big project out in Rapid City. So from our standpoint, we're not only lending for the equipment for these businesses, but in many cases we're building the expansion for these businesses, and in some cases the starting up. So a cool part of the business is if it happens to be somebody that walked in our door for the very first time, said, "Hey, I need a line of credit to get my business going," then we build a building. Then we put all the equipment in for 10 years, and then they get to that point where they're ready to expand. And I happen to my book of business that I have was handed down to me. Some of it was, and one of those was a particular client like that. So he started out with us, and now we've expanded him into another area and into Rapid. And so we've got lenders that do predominantly construction, whether it be single family, things like that. But I would say we all get a pretty good dose of it, throughout the bank, especially as a community bank.
Yeah. So I know from our side of things, a lot of times when we meet a customer and they've kind of gotten to the point now they've made a decision to expand and build. Yeah, it's good flavor. And that mango is actually really prominent there.
Smooth.
How do you help? I know there's a lot of companies who are looking to expand manufacturing or industrial, commercial. They're at the point where they probably are 2 years behind where they should have expanded, and they've outgrown their space. And I know a lot of them are apprehensive. They're nervous. The risk of, we got to put on another $2-3 million building. How do you walk through somebody who, by the numbers that they need to expand, but there's also that side of like, this is a huge loan that we've never had this size of loan before. We've never grown to this size. What does that look like of helping someone walk through that?
For us, the one thing we don't get into a lot of the stats and all the things that I would say the markers that our loan committee would look at to make that decision, whether it's going to be a yay or a nay. And it really kind of depends on the person that comes in through the front door, Zach. And what I mean by that is, are they asking about the markers that we're looking for to make sure that everybody's on the same page? My answer to that would be no, they generally don't. But really what we're looking at is to make sure that cash flow is going to be able to pay their bills at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And, whether it's whether it's a customer that walks in and they're established business and they're just looking for a different bank that wants to grow with them, because a lot of times, there's banks out there that just, sometimes they just don't think that opportunity is at the right time, and they're willing to say, you know what, we're just not there. And so, we get those customers, and I would say it's our loan committee, it's our management that, they can see by the numbers that there is opportunity there. And many times that's the case. So when somebody comes in, we look at the project. What's the project cost? Do they have money to put down on the project? Have they bought the land? In a lot of cases they come in, land's already purchased, and they're just waiting for somebody to say yes. So that's when we do our deep dive into it, get all our information put in, make sure that the markers that we want to hit are being hit. And, at the end of the day, Zach, cash is king.
Yeah.
So either you've got good equity in what, either you've paid for the land, say, free and clear, or you've got the cash to be able to put into the project. I would say 95% of banks are looking for that 20% injection into the project to make sure that there's longevity there and just that the cash flow is going to make sure that everybody is going to be happy at the end of the day. So once we know that we're good, we've got an appraisal back on the project for what the cost is, and the appraisers are saying, yep, this is, for what it's going to cost to build, the value is there. Once we've got all that set in place, loan committee gives us a yes, they're off and running for that part of it. Now, as if anyone's ever built a home or any kind of project like that, there's always upcharges and there's things that you want to change. Usually it's adding expense to it. And in some cases, or gosh, I mean, when you look at all that went on with COVID, the delays that went on with everything. So, from a commercial standpoint, there's no project that ever seems like it's ever the same. So, from a bank, you just, we really have to be flexible. And the more that we know going into the project, the more flexible we can be at the end of the project.
Yeah, we're on the other side of this of, no building that we build is ever the same, and a lot of times you have a budget in mind that you have to try to build within, and then you're coming back. And so there's that, constant back and forth. Communication is obviously the key, and all that is working. And, when we work with businesses, the same as you guys, you want to see them succeed. And so a lot of times when we build expansions, we need to get in there and out of there as quick as possible and not disrupt what they're currently doing. But this new addition or new building is going to allow them to grow. But there's that period of time where there's just a lot of things that are juggling to try to get there in that place.
And frankly, Zach, you talk about comfortability with the customer and the bank, and no one can foresee the things like COVID. No one can foresee, I'm sure excavating, you run into something that you never expected. And those are the things I think that scare everybody. It's not just the owner, it's the bank too, because we know there's going to be delays. There's going to be extra costs. So, you hope that there's cash available for the customer. You hope that there's equity. You hope that the builder, you hope that Rayco knows enough to know that these are the things we could run into and hopefully prep that owner. So,
which I think is important. And then, obviously Rayco, that's we work with clients is hiring a contractor that is experienced, that knows, been in the industry for 23 years, knowing that these are the things you got to look for. These are the things that, engineers and architects are going to come back with, city permits that, a less experienced one is not going to foresee. And it looks cheaper on paper. And in the end, you're going to pay more because these things weren't foreseen for.
Yes.
So
if
you're looking for a building, reach out to Rayco Builders. We'll be there. All right, next question here is we're going to move on to garlic habanero. So staying with the habanero here and jumping into some garlic. Talk a little bit about where you grew up. I know, before this episode is going to come out is right before Memorial Day. I know you served in the military. Maybe give us a little bit of your glimpse of background.
Yeah. So grew up in a small town 2 hours west of here in Geddes, South Dakota. Go Rams, now the Black Panthers.
Wow.
I got into the military because my mom, single parent, I knew she wasn't going to be able to pay for school. So a good friend of mine in high school and just there was a lot of kids from the Geddes Platte area that had gotten into the military. So going into my senior summer or my junior year into senior year, went into basic. The next summer I did my AIT, and we did the Ribbon Bridge building out by would be out on the Missouri River. Went to USD, go Yotes, and
How about that?
I know, you're a Jacks fan. I just had to get it in there. And then it was kind of off and running. I started out in the public accounting sector, and quickly realized that wasn't where my heart was. Kind of jumped around a little bit, to be honest with you, with jobs probably for the first 5 years. Did some controller jobs. Got fired from a job in 2002, and that's when we started our agronomy.
Okay.
And it was another gentleman and I, and we did that from February of, it was 2004 that I got fired.
Oh.
Great experience. It's not something that you want to go through, every 5 years, but it's a great wake up call, because for anyone that thinks that they're too valuable to be fired, that was me. So, but it started the entrepreneurial spirit for me, and did that. I got out of that in 2018 in October. That's when I started with the banking group. And in the meantime, I had gotten my real estate license, still do some bookkeeping on the side, and now I'm here with Reliabank and loving every minute of it.
That's awesome. Well, you have a chance to try that. Maybe just quickly talk. This one's I feel is a little hotter than the mango was definitely sweeter, but pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not bad at all.
not bad. Maybe just touch quickly here on what are some of the key financial products and services that Rely Bank and other banks, community banks offer.
Yeah. So, really when you talk banking, unless you're a smaller bank, everybody's kind of offering the same stuff. I mean, there's different versions of it, obviously, but from a consumer standpoint, everybody's familiar with online banking. I mean, everybody's got it, and everybody from 12 to 82, and I would say a lot of the older folks are probably trying to avoid it as best they can. But with that being said, once you take that next step on the business side, there's what's called cash management. And cash management allows businesses to be more free with wiring, ACHs, which you and I would relate to as like bill payment in your online banking, where so you can pull money from other businesses or you can push money to other businesses. It just allows you to do it on a much bigger scale. Credit cards, that's always kind of a big thing to be able to tie your lines of credit, your loans, your DDAs, and kind of mesh it all with the business credit cards. And the nice thing about business credit cards, generally speaking, as a consumer, we apply for a credit card and we might get a $1,200 line of credit. Well, from a business standpoint, we've got the ability to say, what do you want? Do you want 10 grand or do you want 75 grand? We've got customers that have essentially $600,000 in collective credit cards, for all their employees. So that's the nice thing about the community bank side is that you have the ability to massage that the way you'd like.
Yeah.
Some of the others would be remote tellers. So just because, like we've got one location in Sioux Falls, we'd love to have more, but sometimes the cost of capital, it just isn't worth it. Well, remote teller it's like having our tellers right in your office. So if you get a lot of checks into your location, you basically run it through the teller machine just like you would if you came to the bank.
Oh, wow, okay.
What other? I think that was
Rely
kind of
Bank
the best. So
is in South Dakota, correct?
Correct.
How many locations Rely Bank have?
We've got 10 locations. Our charter is out of Esteline, so we kind of follow the I-29.
Oh yeah, yep, that corridor there. Yep.
So we follow down from Watertown, Esteline, Hayti, Hazel, Colton, Hartford, Sioux Falls, and Humboldt.
Yeah. Okay.
So
cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So,
well, we're gonna increase the scale here. Kind of tippy-toed into this. We're jumping into red Savina, and again, some facts here. Never heard of these before, but this is actually a plant variety from a habanero. And so, from '94 to 2006, the red Savina was actually known as the hottest chili in the world, and then it was dethroned. And this one actually comes in at 350,000 Scoville units. So we're doubling up here on this one. So I'm going to pour a little bit here and ask you a little question here of, are you a better hunter or golfer?
Well, I've got friends that will tell you I'm not good at either. I love to do both, but yeah, I would say if I had to pick between the two, I love to hunt. I'm a goose hunter.
Okay.
So the bigger the blizzard, the nastier the weather.
Really?
Yeah, I love it.
That's your thing.
Yeah. Love to golf, don't get me wrong, but you can ask my banker friends, my banker coworkers will tell you that my golf game has been pretty stagnant for the last couple of years.
Now this one is definitely a little hotter. I will say that.
The habaneros were actually pretty
good flavor.
They weren't bad at all.
This one definitely has a little burn in the back of your throat. I'll let you swallow that one. But from a banker's perspective, this next question here, what are the most critical financial factors that you evaluate when considering a new construction project?
That wasn't too bad.
Good. I think it's a
We'll
little
see
spicy.
what the next couple are like. Oh gosh, we try to look at like debt service coverage is kind of one of the big ones that we're always looking at. Your return on your equity, and banks need to make money too.
Yeah.
So we're looking at how is it also going to be an investment for us.
Yep.
So we look at that, and then then we're able to. So every time we get a request, Zach, we bring it in, we run it through our program to say, okay, this can be profitable for us, and then we obviously we get it together and go from there. So debt service coverage, and essentially what that is we want to make sure that that they have, so for every dollar of debt, we would like them to have $1.25 to pay for that debt.
Okay.
And then, of course, loan committee, they can rattle off all the things that they're looking for, but we want to make sure that there's net worth of the partners, that, if they're coming in and they're wanting to build, let's just say they want to build a $5 million project, and we've got partners that are worth 500,000. We have to do some deep diving into, whether this is this a legit project? Is it a truly legit business? And what's the longevity of what's going on?
Because there's a risk
here?
Analysis for the bank, obviously.
Correct.
If they're going to lend the money, what's the risk,
right,
in that.
Risk reward there.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of factors, I guess, that everybody's looking at, but they want to know if there's cash there to be able to, so are there any reserves there that we're going to be able to tap in on if something, not so much us, but the business customer. What kind of cash conversion cycles do they have if they're in the manufacturing business, or if they're in the restaurant business or the construction business. So, let's say that Rayco's doing a project and it's a heavy project, big project. And granted, you guys aren't usually the bank and you're not funding that kind of stuff, but your banker's looking at those same things to make sure that you guys are a viable product moving forward as well.
Yeah.
So, I would say as a banker, we're trying to get everything we can into the door. And
same as construction. You're running every lead, every opportunity you want to have a chance at.
And for the most part, Zach, I would, if we can edit this and not show it to my boss, but we're trying to get the business in, and I feel, and yes, we also scrutinize things as well, but our loan committee and our management do a great job of that, to make sure that we are not getting the customer in some kind of trouble by just saying, we can do this. We'd love to do it for you.
Yeah. And we have the same thing when we we'll have a business or a company or an individual looking to build, we hear what they're looking for, what they need, what their timelines are. And then, obviously you want, everything. You want every business, but then you have to realize that this maybe isn't the best for us. We can't deliver on that. It's not what we do. We're not going to go outside of our scope. If it doesn't fit us, as much as we would love the sale, you still have to understand, okay, this is what we do. We don't do that. This doesn't fit.
Right.
To help them as an individual too. So, and
that is probably one of my bigger downfalls, Zach, is that I want to help everybody.
Yeah.
And I would say that my boss has sometimes got to reel me in a little bit when it comes to that. So it's a good mix for everybody, because the customer wants to expand. They want to work with the bank. from a lender standpoint, we want to help and grow them as much as we can. And then, loan committee and management kind of bring everybody, kind of tamp it down a little bit and say, all right, this looks good. This doesn't look so good. Why? That's when you really get into the question of breaking down income statements and balance sheets of what's really in there. Why is it in there? Can it be explained? And if it can, please do. And if it can't, then we need to do some soul searching.
Yeah. Good.
So
it's good. Well, we're going to move on to number 5 here, and we are moving into the Scotch bonnet. Familiar with Scotch bonnet?
I am not.
Okay.
I am interested to hear the Scoville.
Another element of the Scotch bonnet is it's supposed to be fruity and slightly sweet.
Interesting.
And this one ranges, again, not as hot as the one before. It actually drops down a little bit in that 100 to 350,000 Scoville units. And so this is supposed to be a little cleanser before we move on to the last one.
Zach, you've made this too easy so far. So
I had to be nice here. Well, tell us a little bit as we move on to the next question about teammates mentoring.
Oh, gosh.
My research department did a really good job of prepping me for this.
You're going to get me emotional here, Zach.
Well, hopefully it's not the pepper.
So I got into teammates mentoring I was kind of in the heart of COVID, actually, because the first year that we did it, we actually did it all online, which is really tough because I've got terrible hearing. So trying to speak with a kid with his, with a mouth cover, a mask on, was not easy. But I had wanted to get into mentoring, didn't know how I was going to do it. And so the teammates came along. Tom Walsh Sr. brought it into town. Teammates originated out of the Lincoln area with Tom Osborne.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And he started it with his football players.
Oh, wow. Did not know that.
And I don't know exactly when. I mean, Teammates has been around for, I would say, 20 some years or close to it. Des Moines Adams, which is one of his old players, actually is the executive director for Teammates. So the way Teammates works is we start with a child, generally in the 3rd or 4th grade. And granted, that's with permission from parents, mom or dad. And we follow them all through till high school.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So in most cases,
so you have the same student the whole time.
Same student the whole time. Yeah.
That's really cool.
And granted, kids move.
Yeah,
people
there's
move,
things that happen.
Things happen where it doesn't work out the way you'd like it to. But I'm with my kiddo, and we've been together for 4 years now.
Wow.
And he'll be an 8th grader next year. So looking forward to the next step.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. If you're interested in teammate or mentoring, they have a website.
Yeah.
I got you right while you were chewing.
I believe it's just teammates.org.
We'll have it down in the description, but I've heard lots of good things about it, and a great opportunity for leaders, business owners, anybody who looking to make an impact and give back. Mentoring is definitely the way to go.
Yeah, it's general. The mentoring is only during the school year, generally for about an hour every week. It's kind of on a schedule. It's and Reliabank has been so good about. We've got a couple mentors in the bank, and they've been really good about. I commend them on allowing us to do this and give back to our community. Yeah. And these kids are just looking for somebody to kind of latch on to and just be a friend, someone that they can look forward to coming to school to see them. And it's just with them. We go there and we play Uno, we talk a lot of cars with my guy.
Cool.
So I enjoy that. He enjoys it. It's just a great program.
That's fantastic. Awesome. Well, talk a little bit about the lending landscape for development, construction, manufacturing, all that kind of stuff. How has it changed in the recent years? And maybe quickly, what are some of the things you're looking trends maybe moving forward?
So 2024 was kind of a, I guess I thought from my standpoint, it was kind of a slow year.
Yeah.
When I got into the business, which would have been in 2020 with ReliaBank, I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah,
it was just
like Wild West
nuts.
things.
It was Wild West. Rates were low on the 30-year mortgage standpoint, which granted we don't do a lot of, and we try and forward that to our mortgage department. So 2020, 2021, 2022 were all super busy years.
Yeah.
Coming out of COVID, there was some stumbling blocks there. Things kind of slowed a little bit. 2024 slowed down, and those trends, they showed, with housing permits, with office and retail, multifamily, kind of the whole gamut.
And I wonder some of it with, the timing of kind of COVID money dwindling.
Correct.
Interest rates went up. And then you also have a presidential election year, which is also another factor that a lot of people hold off. So you almost had kind of that multiple elements there kind of fighting against that.
And that's a great point, because it really seemed like that the back half of 2024, everybody, it felt like they were just kind of waiting to see, one, who the president was going to be, and whether that was going to mean large expansion, or if everything was going to really ratchet down and tighten up. And the funny thing about it was, really nothing more happened after the election than it did before. So I think, rates just have so much to do with all that.
Yeah.
And, all the big guys can talk to you about, this curve going this way and this curve going this way. But at the end of the day, people are just rate sensitive.
Yeah.
So, I will say there's certain people that are set on rates. There's certain people that are set on, I want to be low on fees. Everybody's kind of got their trigger.
Okay.
So from a business standpoint, it's really up to us bankers to understand our customers, to know what's their trigger point.
Yeah.
And, so it's really all over the board. Some people don't mind, like I said, they don't mind having a higher interest rate if they can keep the fees down. So we get pretty creative when it comes to putting some deals together. I've got one gentleman that he likes to be able to catch the downward, so like right now rates are still higher, and he wants to be able to capture as rates presumably come down.
Okay.
So we've tried to do things creatively that way to try and appease him. And, while we might do more of a fixed base stuff for many of our customers, because when you start talking variable rates, Zach, people get all wigged out. I want fixed.
Yeah.
It's got to be fixed. I don't care if it's 8% fixed, but it's got to be fixed. Well, and that's fine, but presumably, the New York Prime is going to come down, and hopefully we'll start to capture some of that business back that guys have been, and guys, gals, everybody that have been holding off on.
Yeah.
So, I guess I
do you see kind of moving trend of maybe things, people are just more cautious and more calculated, or do you think it really did?
Yeah. So, one thing that we saw, we did a deal with Bender Outlook, or Bender Properties. They do an annual seminar on all the things that are commercial in Sioux Falls, and one of the big things that they showed us that I took from it was, when rates were 3.5%, and you did a deal, and you did the 80% loan to value, everything looked great. Big project, $10 million project. And you get 5 years later, which let's say is 2025.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden you've got a 7.25% to 7.5%. You've got that chunk of principal that we now have to renew and put it into a new fixed rate lock product. And now all of a sudden you have to come to the bank with money to get it to be into all the parameters that we're trying to keep it in. So, yeah, I mean, and that's kind of where we're at right now with all that stuff that was in 20 and 2021.
Yeah.
So now we're, when it was the wild, wild west and it was just whatever the lowest rate was that you could get. Now we are trying to be more creative with what's going on. And I would say as far as the trends are concerned, there's a lot of multifamily out. I mean, every direction you look, there's apartment buildings being built. And this year, they were kind of predicting that there's going to be more manufacturing.
We've seen that on our side. On our side,
and I know you and I have talked before, and you guys said that you've seen more of that. So, I love going to that thing every year because it is kind of fun to be able to see what they're predicting and how it all comes to fruition. So, with the trending, one of the gentlemen in our office that does a lot of single family construction, his guys are, excuse me, they are doing more this year. Seem like they've really picked up.
Okay.
Few of my builders, are basically doing what they would normally do. So I wouldn't say that it's not like it's jumped out of the roof, but it has gotten better. It's better than 2024.
I mean, you used to hear people say, well, when the interest rates get back down to that, then I'll do something. I think people realize that they're not going back to that.
Yeah. And that's
so it's like, you just have to, these rates are still higher than what we're accustomed to, but they're still historically.
And honestly, Zach, I think, if you listen to a lot of the experts and just a lot of bank professionals in general, I think everybody would like to see rates get back to the 5.5 to 6.5.
Yeah.
And then it's just an easier arena to play in for everybody, to be honest with you. I know from a consumer standpoint, everybody wants to have 2% and 3% loans, but it's just, I don't think that's going to happen, or it's not going to happen for a long time.
Yeah. Well, our last one here, this is the ghost pepper. And, did not know that the ghost pepper is actually originated out of Northeast India. And it was actually, they said Indian would use it for elephant repellent. That's what
really
online says, whether it's true or not. And so this
one, what are you saying, Zach?
This is hopefully going to help repel and get us out of here. But this is 1 million Scoville units. So it's definitely a jump.
Oh boy. You sure there's not milk in here somewhere?
No. But he immediately has, you can tell. I put a small dab. But it's warm. It tickles the back of the throat. As you enjoy that, last question here as we end here and finish this. For a business owner listening or watching this, what's one key piece of financial advice that you would want them to take away regarding, their growth of their company or construction endeavor?
Cash is still king.
Yeah.
Honestly, when it comes down to it, either having a strong equity position in current real estate, current business, and generally, Zach, that equity is in the form of cash, or readily available cash. Just, really, I would say, just like any business, it comes down to a lot about relationships. And the more you know your banker and the more you know what they're looking for, you can come in prepared when you're wanting to do that $4, $5, $6 million project, whether it's to expand your current construction business or manufacturing business or whatever that may look like. Just knowing what your bankers, I guess what triggers us, as much as what triggers our customers. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of I guess at the end of the day, you know, if somebody comes in and they've got this big project and they've got no cash to bring to the table and probably very little equity, it's a tough go,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah. No, that's
And-
good.
And as good as the business is, as good as the people are, you have to be financially responsible. And you know, coming into the bank, you know, it's not our job to work the miracles. It's our job to make sure that moving forward, everybody's protected.
Yeah.
You know, as much as we try to protect ourselves, we're also trying sometimes to protect people from themselves.
Yeah. That's good. Well, I appreciate it. We'll end here with your ranking of these sauces.
Actually, that one was not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Maybe I didn't take enough.
Maybe not. I don't like the flavor of that one.
It was not my favorite. I love the mango habanero.
Okay. That'd be
is
your number
by
one?
far and away my number one.
Worst one.
Really which one was this? Yeah, the Scotch bonnet. Not my favorite.
Yeah.
I really didn't taste so much with this one.
Yeah, you feel the heat.
Yeah,
burn,
I was gonna say.
Tingly. Yeah, I think the mango was really good. I think the red Savina was actually really tasty. And then, you know, these would be my worst two for
Yeah.
sure. So,
The jalapeno.
yeah, it's
I like.
child's game.
Yeah, it's really not bad.
Well, I appreciate you coming on here and appreciate your input.